In the Mahabharata, as we all know, Draupadi is the chief female protagonist who is both bold and beautiful. Vyasa gives her a myriad colors as a lady born from the fire, as a faithful, ever obedient wife, and also as a spirited woman who is not afraid to stand up for herself or to demand her dues. But little did Vyasa know that his charming leading lady would one day be elevated to the position of a goddess and turn into a guardian deity and war goddess called Draupadi Amman. In this video, we take a look at some of the interesting aspects of Draupadi Amman worship tradition that is concentrated in certain regions and among certain communities of Tamil Nadu. Hello friends, welcome to this Navratri special video from Culture Katha. The great Indian epic Mahabharata finds mention in ancient Sangam literature, including works such as Kalit Tohai and later literary works such as Silapadihara. We also have copper plate inscriptions that praise the Pandya kings for commissioning a translation of the epic into Tamil. So it's clear that the Tamils were aware of the epic even from the early days of its spread across the subcontinent. But the epic seems to have reached the larger public only during the reign of the Pallavas, who ruled parts of Tamilagam between the 3rd and the 9th century AD. It is said that some Pallava kings even earmarked certain specific spaces in temples and called them Bharata Mandapam, where the epic was narrated to the public. The kings even went so far to offer a fraction of the revenues from a village to those who could narrate the story of the epic to the people of that village. The Pallavas were definitely great patrons of literature, but was that the only reason why they were interested in popularizing the epic, or were there other reasons too? Some scholars believe that the Pallavas may have actually used the epic as a motivational tool to enroll people for their military campaigns. The war exploits of the Pandavas were narrated to urge men to participate in the war and display their bravery. It is said that the famous Pallava king Narasimhavarma took great interest in propagating the story because he wanted to raise an army for his military campaign to attack his arch enemy Pulikesin II and invade his capital at Vatapi. Remember, in those days, the kings did not keep a large paid army. As and when the need arose, they recruited their force from the common people who volunteered to fight for their king and kingdom. This is all very interesting, but how did all this lead up to Draupadi becoming a goddess? Friends, the southern regions of India have always had a long tradition of goddess worship. A variety of goddesses are worshipped in these regions. Some are guardian deities, some are fertility goddesses, and some are goddesses of war. Kottravai, for instance, is a war goddess who finds rich mention in ancient Tamil literature. If you are interested in knowing more about Kottravai, check the link to a Culture Katha video on the deity given in the description box below. Draupadi too was revered as a war goddess, probably because of her association with the war epic. She was seen as a fierce deity who could help kings and soldiers win wars. Today, her worship tradition is largely concentrated in the regions that were once under the control of the Pallavas and is in practice among the descendants of the warrior communities of ancient Tamilagam. There are hundreds of small shrines for Draupadi spread across this particular geography. In most shrines, she is alone, and in some she is seen with Yudhishthira, who is referred to as Dharmaraja in Tamil. Apart from being a war goddess, she is also worshipped as a guardian deity who protects her devotees, appealing to her kindness and mercy. Like other village deities, she too has bodyguards. She has two. One of them is called Poturaja and the other is a Muslim horseman called Muttal Rautan. Incidentally, the Muslim Rautas were armed cavalrymen who were part of the armies of several Tamil rulers, including the Cholas and the late Pandyas. The rituals performed for the worship of Draupadi Amman are similar to those performed for other folk deities. These rituals include the fire walk called Thimidi and a fertility ritual dance called Karahatam. Karahatam is usually associated with Mariamman, the goddess of the rains. Typically, several villages come together to organize a few weeks to a month-long festival for Draupadi Amman. During this period, several festivities are organized, which include the performance of traditional folk art forms specific to Tamil Nadu, such as Villupattu and Thirukuthu. Villupattu and Thirukuthu present the story of the epic in music and dance formats. Songs are also sung in praise of goddess Draupadi that depict her as a supreme goddess. Professor Alf Hilterbetel from Chicago University, who was incidentally the first person to research the Draupadi Amman cult, points out that these songs, while praising Draupadi, leave out the unpleasant episodes in her life, such as her molestation, her disrobement, and her being gambled away in the dice game. As Professor Hilterbetel says, in the epic, these were the incidents that led her to assume a terrible, vengeful form. The devotees of Draupadi Amman stay away from these and instead choose to appeal to her merciful form. Again, while the songs mention how she was won over by Arjuna, they do not acknowledge her marriage to 5 brothers. Instead, the songs refer to her as their protector, their primordial mother goddess. Her devotees believe that it was Draupadi Amman who protected the Pandavas through their 12-year-long exile in the forest. In a sense, Draupadi and her role in the Kurukshetra war is seen as the deity's endeavor to destroy evil and restore order and balance to the world. The fact that the tradition of Draupadi Amman worship also has a military angle to it is best seen in 2 specific rituals. Professor R. Srinivasan of Chennai Presidency College points them out. According to him, one of them is a ritual oil bath taken by men in remembrance of the soldiers who died in the Kurukshetra war. The second is a related tradition called Perinchoru that actually has its roots right in the Sangam period. Perinchoru, meaning the big feast, was a ritual rice offering made in memory of the soldiers who had died in the previous wars. This rice offering was then fed to the soldiers going out to fight the current war. Perinchoru is all about remembering and celebrating soldiers. The soldiers believed that by partaking from the rice offered to the martyred soldiers, they received the blessings that would eventually lead them to victory. Today, although the context has changed and there are no wars being fought, these rituals are still observed by the people participating in Draupadi Amman worship. Friends, the tradition of Draupadi Amman worship is a beautiful synthesis of a story located in the north of India with the folk traditions and Sangam era beliefs and rituals of the south. It's woven into a lovely, colorful fabric that to me represents an inclusive and harmonious India. Friends, hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, please do like and share, and do remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. If you're a subscriber, do remember to press the bell icon to receive updates on new video uploads. Before saying farewell to you, here's wishing you all a very, very happy and safe Dussehra.